Hey, what's up, YouTube? I'm Jeff, and we are kicking it Van Voast style. Guys, we just had our first cold front go through, and it reminds me that fall is upon us. Summertime is passing, and that change of seasons is coming up quick. And I hope that it's not another winter like we went through last year. That was horrible. But we are going to get ready for fall. I've got about 20 some odd do's and don'ts to go over with you and help you out to get ready for the fall and winter season of RVing. And that north wind is already starting to howl a little bit. Hey guys, if this is your first time viewing our channel and you have not subscribed, please do so now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, that way you know about the next video that we have coming up. Join us on Facebook, give us a like. We also have an Instagram, we have a website, we even have a TikTok, and I'm not sure what a TikTok is, but we've got one. Join us on those. You should see those links coming at the bottom of the page, or if not, they'll be in our description. Go ahead and please subscribe. Help our little channel out. Thank you, and that's our cheap shameless plug for this one. So we are here still in home base. Due to the pandemic, we have not traveled a lot. But as we're coming out of that and going into the winter season, I do have a plan to possibly go to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Had a friend of mine who bought a KOA park there, and he's invited us down for a little relaxation. And we may be doing that in November as I think I start to see a little bit of break in some diesel prices, and we can crank this old girl up and not cost us a bundle going down the road. So we may be doing that, but we've kind of stayed close to home this year, and it's actually given me some good projects to do here at home base, and also on our RV and on Megan's fifth wheel. Now she's not going to travel a lot in her fifth wheel. It's pretty much just for her and the kids. She doesn't even have a vehicle to pull it with, but she is looking. So if you've got an F-250 Ford, preferably, that you're trying to get rid of, and you'll maybe work with her a little bit, leave us a message down in our comments, or PM me directly, or get a hold of me on my email, and I'm sure that she would be willing to go over with her tax refund coming up this year and see what she can do. Anyway, cheap shameless plug for her. Anyway, let's get on to what this video is about, and that's getting ready for fall and winter RVing. Hey y'all, well, we did a video similar to this last year in getting ourselves prepared for the Texas winter storm that was upon us last year. What I wanted to do is kind of go a little bit more in depth in getting yourself ready, whether you're camping, whether you're sitting at home base, or whether you're just winterizing your RV or trailer to get ready to store. So we're going to go over a few of these. Now, first off, let me say this. If you have not purchased a motorhome or travel trailer or fifth wheel, or anything that's going to be mobile, towing behind something, or Class A that you're driving, or Class B, check with your manufacturer. If you know you're going to be in camping in winter conditions, and I'm talking about not sub-freezing, but if you know that you're going to be in that type of environment, make sure that you're set up for winter conditions, that your trailer has already come manufactured ready for Arctic weather. You know, one of the things that you might do is see if your manufacturer offers an Arctic package. These are better insulated. They're skirted underneath. Dual pane windows. You've got your tanks are heated. These are all things that you're going to want to check with your manufacturer on if you haven't purchased your RV. Now, I'm going to give you some things that if you did not purchase an Arctic package, doesn't matter. You can still proof your RV and make it winter ready. We've got some do's and don'ts here, and I'm going to go over those as we talk about these. I'm going to also post these do's and don'ts down at the bottom in the description. Be sure you take a look. Some of the products that we talk about here, we purchased ours off of Amazon. Also, we purchased some of them from Walmart. I'll leave a link, description and link where you can purchase these products also. Let's get started, shall we? You know, the main thing, and the main thing that I ran across last year when we went through our deep freeze, water. And you know, it's no different in your house. When you know you've got freezing conditions coming, you know it's going to be a long period of, let's say, 5 to 7 days of below freezing temperatures. You want to make sure that you take care of your water. You certainly do not want to have a busted water line or a frozen water line and then that thaw out and bust. And this is the wet bay coming in. We've got our Frost King heat wrap around our hose. I've got a ceramic heater that's been blowing for the last probably 3 days, as our temperatures really have not climbed above freezing in that point of time. We did insulate that with a double layer of aluminum foil, but I since went and got some pipe insulation and put on there, only for the simple reason it's going to get a little bit colder than what we expect. Last year, we had a trailer that was sitting next to ours. They were gone. They had left their water on. We had the freezing temperatures for almost 2 weeks, where it was down in the teens and in single digits. They came back to their trailer being an ice rink because the pipes had busted, froze, and they had to completely redo their floor in their trailer. That's something that you don't want to happen. Note to self, if you're at your trailer or storing your trailer for a week or two and you're leaving and you know you've got freezing conditions coming, turn the water off, drain your lines. That way you don't come back to an ice rink of a trailer. If you're camping, or if you're at a home base, or you're going to be at a campsite or RV park for any length of time during these freezing conditions, go get some heated hose insulation. I'll leave a link. You'll thank yourself for doing this. It keeps your hose heated. That way you don't have to worry about that hose being hooked up to the campsite water supply and it freezing, because it's going to be heated, keeping that hose warm. Another thing that we did is I took, in our water bay, I took a ceramic heater, knowing that it was going to be freezing, knowing that that's where, because our tanks are right there, our water hose coming in, even though it was wrapped, I wanted to make sure that that bay stayed warm. So I took a ceramic heater and put down there. Now, in saying that, be careful, because you don't want to put anything that's in front of that might be combustible, or you won't have to worry about your RV coming, or you coming back to your RV and it being a skating rink. It'll be burned up because it'll catch fire. So be careful in doing that, but that's another way to keep your water bay heated, unless you have heat already going into your water bay, and some RVs do, especially if you've got your Arctic package and that's the way that you ordered it from the manufacturer. You know, something else, if you're traveling and you know that you're going to be in a cold climate, I'll give you, for instance, last year we went to the Smoky Mountains. We went in October. It was not freezing when we were there. The week after we departed and went south to Florida, they actually had a major snowstorm come through exactly where we were. So if you're planning that trip and you're able to pick out your site at a campsite or an RV site, plan on picking something out that's going to be facing towards the sun and not in a shaded area where it's going to be shaded all the time. First off, as you're going through these harsh winter conditions, that sun's going to heat up your RV during the daytime, and you have to rely less on propane. If you're running ceramic heaters as your heat source, less on electricity. Of course, if you're at an RV park, you're probably not paying for your electricity anyway unless you're a long length stay. But it'll keep your RV warmer if you can plan and position your RV where you've got some direct sunlight coming in during the day. Now, a lot of your RVs out there, now my Class A does not have this, but a lot of the fifth wheels and some travel trailers have forced air heaters. Now, what that will do, above 45 degrees, that's going to kind of keep your trailer warm, or your fifth wheel warm. Below 45 degrees, that forced air does nothing for you. That's when you're going to have to use your either electricity or your propane and turn your heaters on and utilize it that way. But above 45, you can use that forced air heater. So be knowledgeable of how that all works. And to do that, just get with your manufacturer if you have a forced air heater. You know, something else we were talking about, back to water, if you're storing water hoses, you're leaving one campsite, going to another, you're putting your RV up for the winter, make sure all of your hoses are drained. No water. Because during that time, when you get those freezing conditions, what's it going to do? It's going to freeze that water in those hoses. You come back, because it's frozen, it thawed, it froze again, it thawed, it froze again. You're going to plug those water hoses in the spring and summertime, and they're going to be no good to you because you're going to have leaks. So make sure when storing water hoses that you drain all that water out of them. You know, something else that you can do, and it's just like in your home, make sure that you've got curtains or some type of covering going over those windows. If you leave your windows open, especially at night, as that cold air, that sun goes down and that cold air starts to engulf that RV, it's going to come through those windows, and it's going to make your RV a lot colder than it should be. But if you've got curtains, what you're looking for in covering your windows is anything that's going to kind of trap your heat that you produced produced your RV, and not expose yourself to open windows, letting that cold air in through the glass. That's what you're looking for. Another thing that you want to do, just like in your home, if you have a sticks and bricks, is during those freezing conditions, you know the temperature's going below freezing at night, go ahead anywhere in your RV that you're going to have pipes, your kitchen, your bathroom, those two places, open those cabinets up. That way the heat that you have going on inside your RV, it'll circulate around those pipes and keep that from freezing. You know, another thing, if you've got skylights or vents or anything like that, there's two things you can do. Now, you can go on Amazon, and we have it. In fact, hopefully we're showing a picture of it. It's a foam piece that kind of goes up into those openings. I use it in the summertime, and I use it in the wintertime. And it places it up there, and it keeps that any drafts that are coming down, it's just plastic up there, so that's going to, especially at night, just like your windows, that cold air is going to seep in. It keeps that cold air out. Now, you can take foam, cut it to size, and stick up there also. Might be cheaper to do it that way than going on Amazon or the Camping World or any RV supplier and getting the pre-made that goes up in there. Just cut it to size, place it up in there during the cold winter or even summer. Make your own. I've got on the flip side of that, it's real shaggy on the bottom, and on the flip side of that, it's got the aluminum bubble wrap, and it reflects that heat back up. So you do want to invest in something like that if you've got vents or skylights. You know, I can remember as a kid being at the house, and especially during summertime, and you'd be opening the door, and my dad would, you know, and as a kid, you open the door, you got neighbors coming in, the doors open, close, and my dad would say, "Are you got stock in the electricity company? Because you're heating frickin' Dallas." He was right. Same thing in the winter months. Guys, go in and out your entry door as little as possible, and when you do it quickly. Because when you open that up, especially in freezing conditions, you're letting all of that warm air that you've been trying to, with either ceramic heaters or your propane heater, that you tried to warm your I was going to say cabin, but it's your cabin on wheels, your home on wheels. You've spent all that time trying to get it real warm, and you just let it go right back out the door and let the cold air in. So go in and out of your entry doors as little as possible, and when you do so, do it quickly. You know, something that I invested in, especially at night, because, again, I want to keep my RV warm above freezing. That is for sure. But I'm going to tell you, folks, first off, make sure going in, wherever you're going into these conditions, you check your propane. If you've got a propane heater, or your heater runs off of propane, there is nothing worse than at 3-4 o'clock in the morning running out of propane, and then having to get up and take those tanks down and go get them filled up. Because I promise you, they'll never run out during the day. They're always going to run out during the night. So anyway, back to what my investment was. So I would cut my heat down, and that way I kept it to where it wasn't using as much propane. Or I also used ceramic heaters, and it wasn't using as much electricity. It had a shut-off point. I invested in an electric blanket. It kept me nice and cozy in that bed during that harsh winter conditions that we had last year. So don't forget your electric blanket. You'll thank me later. Now, if you're going to be traveling, and where you're traveling, you're not in Florida, you're not in Arizona, you're traveling through some states that have winter conditions, and you've got a diesel pusher, make sure you're using an additive to keep that diesel from gelling. Something that you want to think about. Now, if you're home basing somewhere, or you're going to be anywhere for any long length of time during the winter months, if you've got a Class A, now like me, I make sure that, if you've got a gasoline pusher or a diesel pusher, gasoline puller, diesel pusher, sorry, make sure if you're using skirting, don't block your tailpipe. And you'll want to make sure if you're using skirting, and if you've got a lot of snow coming down, make sure you clear that snow out of there. Skirting is good if you're going to be in an area that for any length of time that you know that you're going to get a lot of freezing conditions, a lot of wind. It's blowing up underneath your travel trailer, your RV, motorhome, fifth wheel, whatever that may be. Put some skirting down. Number one, protects it. Let the ground underneath heat it, and also for blowing snow, it's not just you've got that contained underneath your RV to where you don't have all that snow underneath. Use skirting. You know, we talked about using a heated water hose, and something else that you're going to want to do is, which we did, and I'm glad I did, even though I used that heat tape around my water hose, I took aluminum foil and wrapped around my hose because I'm anal and I wanted that extra set of security. I also took a just regular old pipe insulation And you can actually go to Walmart and get pool noodles and do this the same way, about the same cost. But I also went around that aluminum foil with the pipe insulation and put around my water hose all the way up to and including inside my wet bag, just to make double sure that my hose did not fail me. Now, I say that my hose leading from my water or from my wet bay to the spigot at the campsite never froze, and we lost electricity. The campsite water hose from the spigot did freeze. So everything I did to make sure that I was taken care of worked. It never froze. The campsite water spigot did freeze. Now we ended up taking a small heater, and we got that unstuck, and I wasn't without water. But that's another thing. I also kept water in my tanks. Now, because remember I told you I took that ceramic heater, I put in my wet bay. That's where my tanks were. My tanks never froze up either. Also, my tanks sit underneath the subfloor. So meaning this, I have my floor in my RV, my water system runs underneath my floor, and then underneath that it's enclosed. So I stayed pretty safe. As long as I could keep my RV warm, it kept my pipes and my tanks warm. But that's something that you might want to think about, is if you run out of water or you freeze, make sure you got water in your tanks. Also, in keeping that warm, make sure your water pump doesn't freeze. Now, if that's inside your tank, which I'm sure it is, and your tanks are not freezing, your water pump's not freezing. These are all things that you need to think of during those harsh winter conditions. Now, one thing that I did learn is this. When I'm hooked up, and I'm there for any length of time, I hook up my sewer hose, plug it in. I don't leave my black tank open, but I did leave my gray tank open. I'm taking showers, I'm washing dishes. Instead of me running out in 7-degree weather to dump my tank all the time, I left it open. Guess what? My sewer hose froze. We did have one situation where our sewer hose froze up. I thought about going to get a hairdryer and putting some heat to it, but honestly, I went down to our local Walmart and just bought another hose. Wasn't that much expense there, and just took it up and then worked on gravity feed, I guess is what you would call it, down to the sewer pipe hose, or the sewer pipe dump, and it's working out really well. Lesson learned: don't leave your sewer hose hooked up with any water running in it, because it's going to freeze. If you leave your black tank open, you're going to end up with a poop sickle. So don't do that. Don't hook up your sewer line 100% of the time. You know, during the day, maybe that's when you hook it up. Excuse me. Get all your dumping done. Disconnect. Make sure there's nothing in the line before you store it. And then overnight, you don't have to worry about any of that. Next day, if your tanks are full again, or your gray tank's full, hook it up. You usually are a little bit warmer, or you've got the sun out, which will heat it up. I don't know about your hose. My hose is black, so it absorbs heat, and then I do my dumping then. That was lesson learned from last year. Something that I'm doing right now, and actually I'm a week late because I normally do this before fall ever gets here. When this gets published, fall will be here, or we've gone a couple of days past fall. But I always check my weather stripping. In fact, I just checked my door, and I'm actually going to replace the weather stripping on my door, and I'm also replacing it on Megan's trailer. But make sure that you checked all your weather stripping, your weather stripping around your wet bays, not just your entry doors, any place that can get in, wind can get in where you want it to stay dry, number one. Number two, the heat that you're generating, you want to keep that heat in and the cold out. Make sure you check your weather stripping. Replace it if it's needed. If it's real flat, it needs to be replaced. If it's starting to be dry and crack, replace it. I replaced mine. I did not replace it last year. I will replace it this year, all of my weather stripping, whether I think it needs it or not. With me, it's the every other year, and the weather stripping's coming out and the new weather stripping's going in. During those cold winter nights at your entry door, you'll thank me because you won't hear that wind or feel that wind whistling in. You know, we talked about coverings for your windows, and I said use some drapes or blackout curtains or something like that to keep that heated air in and not letting that cold air in. Something else that you might, they sell these kits and they're on Amazon. They're actually, I'm sure Camping World or any RV distributor supplier has them. I'll leave the link down at the bottom. But you might want to consider putting plastic coverings over your windows. Two things: covers your windows. The other thing is during the daylight hours, it's going to intensify that sunlight coming in. It's going to heat your RV a lot quicker and a lot more efficient. Guys, these are our do's and don'ts. This is just a list that I came up with. If you've got other do's and don'ts that you run into, leave them down in a comment. We love comments, and I read and respond to every comment. And if you've got do's and don'ts, leave them down there. That way others can come through and see them, and we'll also post them up in the description of what you leave. Again, guys, if this is your first time seeing us, or you haven't seen us in a while and you didn't subscribe that first time, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell, that way you know about the next video that we have coming up. And don't forget to give us a like. YouTube loves likes. Every time you like it, they pay it forward and it gets shared even more, and that helps us. Don't forget about our website. Guys, anything that you see on Amazon, in our description, you can go to our website. It's going to help us out a little bit. Hit one of the Amazon links and order those products that way. Also, I want to give another cheap, shameless plug for Solo Stove. We are a distributor for Solo Stove and Bonfire. Guys, if you have not tried Solo Stove, give them a try. We do have a video, and I'm going to leave the link to that, about the Solo Stove Bonfire. You don't want to miss that. If you're looking for a great fire pit and you want to get around and you want to eliminate all that smoke that you have to sit 50 feet away from it and you can't enjoy the bonfire because of the smoke, then you're going to like the Solo Stove. Guys, thanks again for watching. Remember this: life is a journey. It's not a destination. God bless. We'll see you next time.